Welcome to the Filmistines, the podcast where we discuss all things movies. Join us as we dive deep into the latest releases, revisit classic films, and explore the art of cinema. Whether you're a film fanatic or just love a good flick, we've got you covered. From Hollywood blockbusters to indie gems, we'll be breaking down the storytelling, cinematography, and everything in between. So grab some popcorn, sit back, and get ready for some cinematic magic. If you like what you hear, please consider subscribing to our Patreon at patreon.com/Filmistines. We offer tiers at the $1, $5, and $20 level, where the $20 tier grants the ability to request films for future episodes. This is the Filmistines, where movies are more than just entertainment, they're an experience. All around you. And welcome back to the fastest growing podcast in the world, the Filmistines. We are the Filmistines. The two of us.
The Filmistines?
The two of us. If anyone knows where that is from, write in and I'll give you a good job.
Praise.
I'll give you praise. I just wanted to welcome specifically our Canadian and South Korean listeners. Welcome.
Or should we say...
I'm watching you guys. Thanks for watching us. We do like Korean films. And I don't know about Canadian films. Don't know if we like Canadian films.
What's a Canadian film?
Yeah, I don't know. They probably look a lot like U.S. films. But I say that, but you might say the same thing about Mexico. And Mexican films definitely don't look like American films. So I don't know. Maybe it's hard to say. And then at the same time, Hollywood Disney films don't look like A24 films. So, it's pretty granular. But today we're talking about a classic of classics, the 1957 12 Angry Men, directed by Sidney Lumet. Lumet? How French are they?
This is an American film director.
This is often cited as one of the greatest films ever made. Did you know that?
No, but I can understand how it is.
You think it's a great film?
I think it's a good film.
Yeah.
I think it's a great film. I would put it in the, greats of American films. I think I would, yep.
Is it great because it's a really old film, an early great film? Does that make it better than great films today?
I mean, I don't think just because of that.
You don't think the pioneering nature elevates any kind of status and how we should perceive things? I don't think so.
No, if you pioneered something,
you have that.
Great job.
You
awesome. You have that. But if someone came along and did it better, I'm sorry, they came along and did it better.
But they couldn't have done it without you.
But they couldn't have done it without you. Exactly.
So there's that's fine. That's just how it is. Mario 64 kind of sucks, but we understand that was one of the early...
Whoa. We got fighting words now.
Don't even pretend. I saw this movie when I was in, I think, 9th grade in a statistics class. The teacher was real ecstatic to show us this. I think she wasn't feeling well or something, and I was just like, what the fuck is this? At that time, it was probably the oldest movie I'd ever seen. And since then, I don't know if these Elvis movies I've seen are older.
They're probably around the time.
Or maybe Gaslight, the one we watched, maybe a little bit older. This still is up there of the oldest films I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But I just remember when we watched it, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe how good it is. And I still think it's a great film. It's definitely not a favorite. It suffers in one corner that's hurts the film severely, I think, today.
Oh.
And we'll get into that.
Okay. Can't wait to hear.
Yeah. Have you seen this film before? Before this?
I have, or I had, I guess. But I couldn't remember when I had seen it until we watched it. And I don't know why all of a sudden it clicked where I had seen it. So I also saw it in high school, also 9th grade, and it was in one of my elective classes. I took an elective called Law-Related Education.
We didn't have that.
Yeah, it was either that or is it Home Economics? The one where you take care of a baby and learn how to bake and shit?
I took that.
You took that?
Yeah.
Of course you took that. You would take that.
I had a baby.
You had a baby?
Yeah.
Oh no.
I can't remember who my partner was. We had to do it in pairs.
Yeah.
And I can't remember.
I thought so.
I can't remember who it was. I feel like I might remember it might be my buddy, but I can't put my finger on it.
Well, this elective, I was super excited about it until I found out who the teacher was.
One of the lame ones?
No,
Oh.
not lame as a person. She was the freaking sweetest teacher I had ever known in my life. And she cared about you as a person. She was going to look out for you. She's the one who stepped me outside in the hall when one of my PSAT scores wasn't great. And, kind of talked to me about it. And I mean, she knew how much a bad score like that would get to me. So, I mean, she was a total sweetheart. As a teacher, she was not good. She couldn't control a classroom. I mean, her consequences she didn't have any consequences to anything. You didn't do your homework, you had like 3 weeks to turn it in. And if you forgot to turn it in, she was still going to give you a 50 because you can't have a 0.
Why not?
Because she didn't want to see you like that.
If I'm ever in the position where I'm teaching public school, I can't tell you how excited I am to be handing out them zeros.
I know.
I would be psyched, man. I can't fucking wait.
And then she was always doing like bonus questions to tests. There was not a test that didn't have a bonus question.
Yeah.
That gave you like 10 whole fucking points to a test. So, I mean, that class, of course, I had 100 because that's the highest you could get in there. But that wasn't what I had. I probably had like 115 because of all the bonus stuff she gave. So that was kind of a little bit of a downfall in the class, that it wasn't taken very serious. But anyway, she made us watch this movie. I think throughout like a couple of days during class. And I wouldn't be surprised if I was the only person that actually watched it. And I remember watching it and just loving it. Didn't think that old movies had this potential. And my mom watched a lot of old movies, a lot of black and white movies. And they just look so boring. They didn't look bad. They just looked boring. And I don't know. But seeing this, it was nice. It was a nice surprise.
I agree. I think it was probably that movie for me too, which is, I would like to say that that's a funny, serendipitous kind of coincidence thing going on here, but I would be willing to bet this is one of those movies for a lot of people. This and Citizens Kane and Psycho and things like that. I bet you there's Grand Illusion. I bet you there's a handful of the same movies that pop up in different people's lives. And they're like, wow, all movies could be like this. And it's like, no, only a handful of them are like this. But still, I mean, I'm with you. I mean, I'll tell you time and time again, I try to get you to watch older movies. And it is tough. Even for me, it's hard to go back sometimes. Gaslight wasn't as good as even this, and it was pretty decent though.
Yeah, Gaslight was pretty decent. I was surprised by how much I didn't fall asleep.
Yeah, and I think it helps when it's kind of low key, and I think the filmmakers of the time knew their limits. They had to keep things real domestic and not too ambitious with camera work and everything, and that's probably one of the things that kind of sucks about like young people looking back, and that a lot of it probably looks very samey because there's just not a lot of style in any of it. You've got your character actors who, are great traditional, just realized actors, and you have to watch the movies to find that out. You can't just look at it, And then the camera work kind of is real static, which I'm starting to learn that is my favorite part of camera work. Real stable, low key camera motion. I don't like real dynamic shit happening. Think about like probably my favorite shot of any movie ever is from Funny Games by Michael Haneke, the Austrian one or German one or whatever, where we're looking at the living room scene, and it's like 12 minutes of that. What we see. I don't want to spoil it here.
Like
yeah. You know what I'm talking about?
The TV and then
yeah.
The people there,
the family and the two other people.
Yes.
Yeah, that scene, very lynching and everything, but I mean, I think I've brought it up to at least you before. I'm not sure if I brought it up on the podcast, but long takes, whether they're static or not, kind of give me anxiety because it's just like There's just like weird building tension that happens in me with it. And
Yeah.
there's a handful of movies that really embrace that. There's a movie called Climax. It's kind of cool that movie's called Climax because the only climax, the true climax is the end, the credits, because it finally kind of lets you go, you know, it just fucking holds you hostage for 90 minutes. There's no cuts in it. It's all taken in one shot. It's probably one of the most incredible things ever recorded.
Wow.
It's a real artsy film, but I'm glad we watched this. I'm glad we revisited it. You brought it back to my attention. You recommended this film.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And you recommended the next film, too.
You're also welcome.
Thank you. We haven't watched it yet, but we're going to soon. It's a surprise. Unless you go subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/filmsteins.
If you don't like surprises, you need to subscribe.
Yeah. And you can go ask questions at patreon.com/filmsteins. We'll gather 6 questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, and ideas from the audience and read them here and answer them. If we're smart enough, at least. If you ask good questions, I'll still read them. But if we can't answer them, just know that you're too smart for us.
Yeah.
This movie's not super ambitious, is it? We take place in 95% of it in one room, right? We're not moving around a lot.
Maybe even more.
Yeah. We're outside the courtroom for 2 minutes, maybe. Outside of the courthouse for a second.
Yeah.
Inside a little bit for a minute or two. And then we're in this room that feels very small. Can you imagine shooting this film in here? I want to know what the set looked like, you know, when they were recording a handful of scenes.
Yeah.
That's incredible in its own right? But the first thing that comes to my mind about this movie after watching it is how they managed to tell something so complete and so good and it's just so interesting. I don't know how this came to be and all happened in a single room. It just tells you, it's just a great example of even the smallest ideas can be executed amazingly.
Yeah. I mean, we have The Whale is a big example here.
I was thinking of The Whale watching this movie.
I was trying to think of other films where it mainly takes place in one room or one setting or whatever. But I couldn't think of any. I could just think of The Whale. And it's crazy. It's crazy how it's still good. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to do much to have a great film. You just got to execute it well.
We don't need to travel across the world back and forth to Spain to California to whatever and have this whatever epic story of Nick Cage and Pedro Pascal. And that's a great movie, but Oh, I mean great from the sense that it's, you know, it's fun, but it's not shit. I guess that's what I mean by when it's not great, when it's great. What do you think about this movie, man? I'm very curious what you have to say about this movie. What did you think about these characters, these 12 characters?
So that's one of the most interesting things about this film. You know, the characters. That we don't even have their names. We just know they're, you know, what is it, juror 1 through 12? But their personalities are so different from each other. And it's pretty great that you can capture that in such a non-intimate, but kind of intimate way. You know, these people don't know each other. They don't know anything about each other. We don't really know anything about them. You know, we don't get to see we don't drive by their family's house. We don't know. I mean, except that one guy, we know he has a kid. But besides that, we don't know if they're married. We don't know what's going on in their lives. But we can still know who they are by their personalities, I guess. So that's pretty cool that you can show an audience that. It made me think about what a jury pool would look like today. I mean, you know, you have here these 12 white old men. You would think you wouldn't have much personality there, and it's in black and white. So even less personality, because do they have brown hair? Do they have dark brown hair? Do they have black hair? Who fucking knows? I mean, it's just awesome that you can have that. And a jury pool today, I feel like you'd have more of the same people. But then there's just so much variety today that you wouldn't, you're going to put a black guy in there. You're going to put, a lesbian in there. You're going to put an old white lady in there. You're going to, put a younger, whatever other ethnic person in there. So.
Yeah, I think it's especially important that these are all men of some kind of vaguely Caucasian, ethnicity. Because in the remake, there's, I think, half the jury is black. I'm not sure when it takes place. I know that's kind of important to everything, but here we're dealing with the defendant is is that right? The accused is vaguely some kind of, I guess what you would say, ethnic person, whether he's maybe Hispanic or Italian.
I think he's supposed to be Puerto Rican.
Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, did they say they were in New York? That would make sense, I guess. So I guess if he is Puerto Rican, he's kind of vaguely ethnic too, especially your everyday working man white American in the 1950s and 40s and shit. And so I think that's pretty important that we have this kind of, what you might expect a super conservative, not necessarily racist, but, kind of xenocentric, maybe a little xenophobic group of folks who are, at first glance, maybe you would say, oh, they're gonna all agree.
Mm-hmm.
And they do, except one. So they are spot on,
Yeah.
Except we have this one guy who brings the major theme, which is something to move. This is that juror number 8. Is that, I think, who that is?
Yeah.
He's kind of our main guy. Henry Fonda or something like that, I think the actor's name is.
Mm-hmm.
He brings into question of just the whole concept of reasonable doubt, aka innocent until proven guilty. And that's something that's probably been a problem since the conception of the court system, I would imagine, right? Just based off of how people are always hysterical and jump to conclusion and have lynch mob mentalities, even to this day, if not worse than ever before.
Yeah.
Especially on the internet, and it's something you hear pop up throughout your life, growing up, whatever, in conversation on TV or something, reading that people are innocent until proven guilty. And it just, in practice, it never feels that way. And so I think that is us starting the movie off with that. We get, the introduction, that 10-minute introduction of the characters kind of mingling and everything. And that introduction into that small room is all done in one shot until, boom, right before we sit down and start talking, we get that first cut to juror number 8 looking out the window, kind of brooding over the thing, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of melodramatic and fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we are kind of signaled, at least in retrospect, that he's kind of our main character. He sits down, and they take a vote. They think it's gonna be quick, and he's, he says he's not guilty because he's not certain. Because I don't know why, but that's awesome.
Yeah, it's such, I don't want to be, kind of trite here, but it's such a powerful message.
Yeah, and it's so if obvious. Like, I don't know. Is it obvious? I don't know. It's fundamental to our Constitution and maybe other constitutions around the world and throughout time. I'm not sure. I don't know about the history of the court system, the justice system in the world, really. But it resonates so much with me because it just doesn't feel like that is anywhere to be seen. And I've never experienced, at least personally, or seen it in another movie where someone is so adamant to basically want to be convinced. That's what he's basically asking everyone to do, is to convince him. And then he evidence by evidence kind of sees holes in everything. And we're not here to take sides. We're here to see if the evidence kind of holds up, we're getting, and it's so cool. It's so cool.
Yeah, this is one of those movies that, I mean, it kind of inspires you in a way, because you see that one person can make a difference. One person can change somebody else's mind, and then just this snowball of mind changing. And not in a bad way, not in a dictatorship, rule the world kind of way, just in a are you sure kind of way. Like, did you see this?
Yeah.
Were you there?
And it forces people to say a thing that we've brought up between each other that we just know people hate saying, and I don't know. People hate saying I don't know.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And this guy just he claws it out of a lot of these guys, and a lot of them blow up in some way, especially juror 3? Is that juror 3? He's kind of the antagonist.
Yes.
He looks like a cross between Sylvester Stallone and the main guy from How I Met Your Mother.
Oh my gosh, I was thinking that. Marshall from How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
I didn't think
Sylvester Stallone. That guy.
Yeah, I didn't think that guy. But yeah, he really does. And I was like, is that his dad?
I know, right?
But it kind of has this message of, question things. It's okay not to know, and take that even further and question it. And then take that even further and take some accountability, for your actions, especially with juror number 3. So I like, the messages that this film had to give.
Specifically for juror number 3, being accountable for his actions at home.
Yeah.
Because he was projecting his hatred over young people and how he feels like he's been wronged.
Yeah. I like that you said earlier that you're not supposed to pick a side. But I think a lot of people that watch this movie, I don't know, I haven't questioned a lot of people about this movie, but I assume a lot of people watching this movie would be picking sides. I guess I was going to ask you that if you at any point had picked a side since, the movie started and we're getting all these things. He murdered his dad. There were some witnesses. There was a knife. There's all these things. And you're like, oh shit, this dude murdered his dad for sure. And then, I'm guessing about like 3 main points were made. Maybe take a few small details here or there that kind of convince you. But there were 3 main points that were made. The first one was the knife. That juror number 8, our main dude, went out and bought the knife, which is completely ridiculous if this was a real world scenario.
Oh, he says he found the knife.
I thought he went and bought one.
He found the knife in the same neighborhood.
He went and bought one in the same neighborhood.
He found it.
Where did he find it?
On the ground.
Oh, I thought he said he bought one, and then someone said that's illegal.
Oh, they did say that. He must have bought it in the same neighborhood. He was in the same neighborhood.
Yeah, he was in the same neighborhood.
Oh, okay.
Which, that's ridiculous. Who goes and does that? I don't even think you're allowed to do that. I don't know. I don't know laws here. But that's the first one, the knife. You can get it anywhere. It's identical to other places. And then...
Yeah, it's not that original like they wanted you to believe it is.
Yes. The second point was the old man as a witness, destroying his testimony. And they did a whole little experiment, which I love that. That's awesome that it's like going through a drastic way to show people something, even though it was so simple, as limping from one end of the room to the other end and timing it. But that convinced some people in the room. And then I guess the last one is the woman, the lady that was wearing glasses but was not wearing glasses but had the little marks on her nose from wearing glasses. So did you at any point think, oh, the boy did it, and then you were convinced, and then you were maybe not convinced again, guilty, not guilty? Or did you see this film like, did you just experience this film and, you started out like our main dude here? You were like, all right, doubt everything.
Yeah, I definitely did not experience. I did not. I did not pick sides. I didn't pick either side. I wasn't there. I wasn't presented the case. You know, I can't.
Completely makes sense.
Yeah, I can't pick sides like that, and so I'm left by default, I guess, on to some degree on a reasonable doubt side, because I don't have. It's kind of, I guess I feel like that's probably the more neutral. If you don't have a meaningful perspective, you, I think, by default land on a reasonable doubt side, because you just don't know the story, so you kind of just have to live in. I mean, I guess you just live in doubt. You don't live in reasonable doubt. You just live in, doubt on both sides. Because it's just a pointless place to be, as far as like trying to act like a juror and not being presented the case, which I like that we're not presented the case. I really like that we don't see the scenes when they're talking about them. We get all the evidence second hand, right? Because the jurors are getting it second hand. I mean, we're actually getting it like second hand, because the jurors are getting it second hand from the lawyers, right? And the lawyers are getting it second hand from the defendant and prosecutioner. So like we're getting it really off, hand. And a modern movie, you could just fucking see them ruining this, and you wouldn't even know if they were ruining it unless you fucking saw this movie. I feel like that, when they talk about the old man, we would then start to see bits and drabs of the old man walking across, and then they change the story, and then we'd see the scene play out again, and but he's got slippers on so he can move faster, or some stupid shit, but we don't see any of that. They reenact it.
Yeah,
they reenact all of it, basically, what they can, even then up to the point of with the glasses. That's kind of the far as the reaction. That's the only reenaction they can really give in that. Can you see without your glasses? Oh, no, not really. Especially at the nighttime, across, 30 feet across the way through an L train. It's like, without glasses on, no, probably not going to see much, So it's like, well, you kind of have just invalidated yourself. And then, of course, the beauty of getting your 5 seconds of fame is all over this, with the lady and with the testimonies. And I don't know. It's so good.
Yeah, I guess when the film started, I did pick a side, which is just even. It's more like, okay, this film was made for you. You're the type of person that went into this movie and thought, oh, this dude is guilty. I wouldn't. I'm also just the audience. I wouldn't think that way. Hopefully, yeah. I've never been in a jury. I've never been in that kind of situation. God, I hope I don't act the way I do when I'm just watching a film.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Yeah, hopefully you are mature enough to be like, we need to talk about this. I think he's guilty, but we need to talk about this, Hopefully you would be like that, even if you thought he was guilty. Because they were ready to get out of there immediately.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's exactly like the guy said, like, we're going to spend 5 minutes in here to decide a human life, an 18-year-old's human life, like, young fucking life. Like, I think he deserves more than 5 minutes. I think anyone would.
Yeah.
Especially because the evidence is so shaky, Especially, if it was caught on camera, that's one thing, right? But we don't really have a great case.
Yeah.
For the defendant, he doesn't have a great case. Or both ways, because there's lack of good alibi, and lack of great evidence. It's a kind of a shitty position the jurors have been put in, because they have to hash it out.
Yeah.
What's the point of even the lawyers? Because they did such a shitty job. Hopefully they're not getting paid.
Well, they're probably not. One of them's probably not.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah.
But like I was saying, in the beginning of the film, I thought he was probably guilty. And then we have this big reveal with the knife. And I was like, okay, well, you know what? That's weird. But I'm not convinced. And I wasn't immediately, like, my mind didn't immediately think, oh, well, I'm not convinced, so it must be not guilty. Which I didn't really, I guess, put it in a guilty, not guilty way, maybe. I don't know.
Tell me about this old man. These close-ups. We kept getting close-ups of him.
The old man?
Yeah. Who was sitting next to juror 8. I guess he was juror 9.
Yeah. What about him?
Tell me about him.
He's just an old man.
He's just an old man. You laughed at him though.
He was funny.
He was kind of spouting the obvious, right? And people were just like, well, yeah. Because he kind of, I guess he was the crux of the old man, like the old man who testified not actually seeing him. He started that.
Yeah, and he started the one with the lady too.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
He's kind of the crux of the whole debate for the jurors.
Which is funny because at the beginning, he was in the bathroom. They were waiting on him to come out.
Yeah, that was funny.
But
Can't get
then-
this show rolling without the most important player. I liked it when they slowly but surely kind of started learning more about each other. Like when the juror number 8 learned about the guy who grew up in the slums, maybe it was the guy. It was one of them learned about the guy who grew up in the slums, and they're like, oh shit, well, I didn't mean anything by what I've said about, slum people being trash. It's like, oh, okay, it's kind of getting juicy. And then we got this guy, this coward who just wants to get out of there and is like, oh, I'm just gonna be not guilty, on the winning side. Of course, the ball player would bandwagon on the winning team, right? And then that's when the vaguely European dude jumped on his ass about, why do you change sides? Like, you can't just change sides out of convenience of trying to get out of here sooner, right?
Mm-hmm.
He might have been my favorite, which I feel like is probably kind of tried to say. He's probably a lot of people's favorites, the mustache guy. Who's your favorite?
I knew you were going to ask that. I'm not sure who my favorite is. I don't think I have a favorite. But maybe the character who I could relate to the most is the guy that got convinced, I guess, second to last. Not the really stubborn Sylvester Stallone dude, but the one before him. Which is funny because, throughout the film, I was kind of like, is this dude guilty or not? I don't know. I'm leaning towards guilty. Some of this shit makes sense. What about these witnesses? I mean, who makes this shit up, Kind of a very...
That's kind of the important thing, right? Some of it can't make sense. All of it has to make sense. Otherwise, you were entering reasonable doubt. If things don't perfectly align, you can't cast guilty at all because there's not a full picture there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's kind of the ironic thing about Glasses is, Glasses guy is that he was kind of all about the reason and stuff, and we didn't really get in on whether he was like, okay, about these other bits of evidence that they kind of deconstructed. We didn't really get. He was too stuck on the lady in the train. And so it's kind of, I guess it's a great flaw in him is that, someone, the most reasonable of the bunch, the academic of the bunch, he was at the mercy of his own bias of being like, no, this is too convincing. This specific piece of evidence right here is too convincing. I don't care if it adds up with the others. I don't care if the others start to interfere with this one. This specific piece of evidence is this too convincing? And then when they finally got around to deconstructing that one, it's like, oh shit. And it's perfect because that was his big hang up, and he was wearing glasses, and the ladies wore glasses, but she didn't bring her glasses. She wasn't wearing of course she's not gonna wear her glasses going to sleep or trying to go to sleep. And we learned that she did wear glasses because she had marks on her face at the court case. It's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
Great storytelling. And I guess what do you think? I don't know how effective I feel like it is anymore. I feel like it almost wasn't harsh enough, but the so-called racist, or at least classist, the guy who was like real caught up on like he lives in the slums, these people are violent, yada yada yada, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they all stood up. Everybody stood up, or almost everybody stood up and didn't want to hear it. They all walked away, and then he eventually stood up and walked away and basically put himself in timeout. I almost wish he went a little harder in the things he said. I feel like he wasn't really, I guess there's still an element of class just kind of in the movie itself. It's kind of a highbrow movie. So saying things like slurs might be a step too far. And also, I guess, ratings. This movie's probably rated PG, or I don't even know if that existed in the 50s. But saying something really derogatory would have probably got them a different rating or caused some kind of controversy. But what do you think about that? Do you have any thoughts on that, player? Because he himself kind of got deconstructed. As he put his ego out there and his ideology of how he thought about people in the slums or people of color, and he basically deconstructed himself right in front of these people, and they were like, not gonna have it. This is like, you don't even belong in here, like, what are you even doing here? Like, this is like you're the worst of the worst. Like, what, what I'm saying? Then we had I guess he was kind of like a capitalistic type character where he was easily persuadable, I guess. That he was a cereal box designer. Is that what I heard? I think he was like number 11 or 10. The guy with glasses, not the nerd. Oh, I guess there were three guys with glasses, weren't there? The nerd, the academic, stoic kind of guy, and then the guy that kept taking his glasses off and on with their black glasses. I liked how he bounced between, I guess it was hardly a bounce, but he went from guilty, not guilty, to not guilty again. And I think that's just, it's kind of a fun demonstration of someone of, kind of product marketing will just agree with what's kind of the popular opinion to just kind of make the sale or something,
Yeah, so I think number 10, our racist dude, maybe for the time, what he said was, racist and juicy enough for them to walk away from the table.
What do you think about them walking away from the table? Was that how melodramatic? Like, what was that?
I liked that.
Oh, you like it?
Yeah, I liked it. I think it was showing, storming out of a room without storming out of a room. Because they can't. I think literally, right? Jurors can't leave the room.
I don't really know, but yeah, that would make sense on some level, yeah.
And then, you can't really storm out after someone says idiotic things. You got to be a little more, be the bigger person, be more level-headed. So just walk away from, just remove yourself from the situation. And this is the 50s, right? This is like prime civil rights time. So I think maybe on that level too, you're fighting for ethnic people to have more rights. So you're especially fighting the bigotry and the racism at that time. So maybe that has something to do with it too. You like, come on, man, really, we're here. Don't you see all this other shit? I don't know.
No, absolutely. It starts to trivialize everything they've just talked about. Literally everything they've talked about. Point. This is what you're gonna say. They're violent. They just breed violence. Just like
what
we've been discussing. Whatever his character is doesn't matter. Even if he was violent, that's not. Unless I guess if he has an actual history of violence, that's maybe worth bringing up in the court case.
Yeah.
But he's not. That's just you. I wish I was a judge where I could say something. How when someone will say something in court, they'll be like, "That's hearsay" or whatever shit like that. Yeah. Something like, I'm sure if someone said something like that, if a defendant said it, or if a lawyer said it, I should say, the judge would be like, "That's whatever that word is that they use specifically in court," which would be fun to know and hear. And then, but at the end of that, when he's like on his spiel, he's like, "What did I say? Did I say something?" And he kind of has this mental kind of destruction of his ego.
Yeah, and I like that. I like what you said, that he went and put himself in timeout.
He put himself in the corner.
I like that.
And it was cool because it was also the closest to the camera. I liked that too. It was a little soap opera-y and melodramatic, them going from like the furthest, wherever they were sitting, to the furthest point in the room, basically all around the room. It's a pretty interesting. It's probably the most stylized part of the movie. This whole interaction that starts to happen, and you start to, because it starts kind of heated, and then almost you start to become like embarrassed for this guy.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I was already embarrassed for this guy when he said that he don't even speak good English, and then the guy next to him, the what is he? German?
He's
Whatever.
his actor is, I think he's from Czechoslovakia, or the Czech Republic, I guess at the time, and yeah, he's like vaguely European in the movie.
Yeah, and he's like, he doesn't even speak good English.
Yeah,
and the guy just looked at him like, shut the fuck up. I like that. I like that little interaction there. It's always so funny when that happens, you know, in real life.
Yeah, especially Europeans who learn English as a second language. They know English better than any American. Like, it's like that.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know what you're trying to say with, you know, whether someone knows English or not is a sign of them being, you know, being allowed in the United States. Like, what the fuck? And then another guy says something at some other point in the movie. I think it was a sports guy. He's like, you know, they come over here and they start telling us how to run the show.
Yeah, it's kind of like in school, how many people fail their English class? I think the English comprehension test that you have to take in like high school to graduate is one of the most failed tests. And then how many people on top of that get, you know, great, amazing grades in English? Like, I mean, kind of like what you're saying. What does that have to do with anything? So it's always funny. It's always funny when that's brought up.
And I also want to say, was it the sports guy who said that, you know, they come over here and start trying to run the show?
I don't know if it's him.
It was either him or the racist guy.
Yeah, I don't remember who said it.
But it forces the question, like, are we really going to say that people from around the world have a lesser or better sense of ethics? You know, this is like, we're not talking about anything here that has to do with you. We're talking about just the ethical nature of how we're dealing with this human life here. Like, we need to find everything we can to prove this guy's innocence. Like, what is
yeah,
what? Like,
and there's still people like that today.
Yeah, that
think that way. And it's so silly, especially with the internet. Come on.
There's probably not based off of any kind of cesspool breeding type situation, not where ideas are proliferating, but because there's more people in the world than there were in the 1950s. There's probably more people than, like, just literal mass of people than there were then that are racist and radicals. Not that radicals are bad, I guess, but bad radicals, whatever the bad radicals are. Not all radicals are bad, but
yeah, I mean, that would make sense. What are you gonna say about the guy with the glasses?
I remember I said something about he's kind of was this capitalistic representation of commercialism and marketing at the time, and he just kind of swung the most, and he was just, not that he was trying to appeal, not that he was just trying to.
Oh yeah, so that guy was super indecisive, and that's a good point of view that he comes from, in advertising kind of background, marketing kind of background. Is that what they are? Are they just good at just kind of lying for both sides, I guess? Whatever you need to hear for you to, you know, buy it or agree or
whatever fits
move
the
forward.
Agenda, yeah.
Yeah, whatever fits the agenda. That's an interesting point.
I think it's cool that, and it's so slick, because none of these characters are overt characters. You know, these feel very real. None of these people are. I mean, the most dramatic character is the guy, like, you know, the guy who's constantly number 8, who's like, but can it happen? You know, is it possible? You know, it's like, hey, okay, we know. We love the fire that you're starting and everything.
I don't know, can it?
Yeah, that's a pretty dramatic character, I think, because that's just, no one says shit like that. Unfortunately, funny. You know, he's he should be someone who we look at as a fucking hero, you know? And it's sad because he's the most American of the bunch. He's trying to abide by the Constitution to the T.
Mm-hmm.
And he's kind of he goes kind of head to head with the guy who's right next to him, the baseball guy.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of funny because he's the baseball guy, the America's favorite
sport.
pastime.
Yeah.
And it shows like a kind of dualistic sense of priorities in the world. Not that our main character is this patriot who you know, reads the Constitution while he's going to sleep, you know?
Mm-hmm.
He probably doesn't, because no one does. But we do have this guy who probably does go to sleep watching baseball games. You know, it's something that is looked at as very American, and he's you know, like everyone else, challenged with a fundamental of the fundamentals of the American Constitution. And I think that's really cool. And then he fucking tries to cop out by convenience, just trying to get out of there sooner. It's like, oh, okay,
I know.
Makes sense that you'd do that.
Yeah. So him and indecisive dude number 12.
Which one? Hang on. Yeah. I had to think about it for a split second.
Yeah, I think.
I'm glad they don't have names, to be honest. But I have to go around the table.
Yeah.
Which is maybe genius design, because you spend so much time in there. You don't spend that much. It's an hour and a half movie. It's quick. It's a quick movie, which is awesome in its own right. But you know the table.
Yeah.
You know the table. It's awesome. What are you gonna say?
That they're probably the most relatable. Not relatable. They are related, I guess, maybe personality wise, or maybe decision making wise, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, one's indecisive, whether it's, whether he really cares or not. Who fucking knows? I mean, he's just this guy who's trying to just meet the agenda, like you said. And then here's our other guy who's like, okay, let me just agree with whatever gets us out of here.
Or maybe I should say that by, like, he's trying to appeal to the loudest voice in the room, kind of thing.
Well, I guess that is meeting the agenda. So, yeah, I guess that's a better way of phrasing it. Whatever's going to get the most buys, the most money, the most
it's like,
sales.
Oh, did I say that? I meant this. And then, you read the room, you're like,
yeah,
okay, yeah, that's what I wanted.
Which the baseball guy is a salesman.
And he's a magician.
He's a magician? Is he for real?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hear him say that.
Or he's at least an illusionist. Yeah, he did some tricks.
Oh, I didn't see the tricks. How did I not see the tricks? I don't remember the tricks.
I
love magic.
I think when the main character was leaving the bathroom, he was doing a trick with two other guys, and we were still following the main character, and so we just, you're probably focusing on him.
Definitely.
And it happened just like that.
Okay.
Well, I like that you say that they're kind of two sides of the same coin, because they also are two sides of the same coin of being the most American characters. Like, at first glance, we got sports guy, baseball guy, and marketing guy, capitalist guy, and they're the most indecisive, and they don't want to be there more than anyone else.
That's funny.
It's funny stuff.
Clever, funny.
And they're
stuff.
across the table, which I like too.
Yeah.
Camera has to be boom, 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 boom. Camera has to go back and forth between them. Good stuff.
Yeah. I like that this film is kind of making each of the characters face their weaknesses. We have, even our advertising guy, he has to kind of face his advertising weakness, face his kind of people-pleasing weakness. Our racist dude, he faced his weakness. He went and sat down and thought about it. He's the most, dramatic one that had to isolate himself to think about what he just fucking said. And then, we brought up previously our analytical dude. I don't remember. Number 3? No, that's the bad guy. Number
4.
Number 4. Yeah. I don't remember how you phrased it, but he had to face that just because you're like holding on to this one potential truth, potential fact, whatever, you're dismissing all these other facts. But you as a, what did you say?
Yeah, because it would become, I don't know how I'd feel. I was thinking about it. I don't know how I would feel if, I think he was a broker.
Yes.
So he's mathy or whatever, number oriented, right? Logic, whatever.
Right.
Would his character have been better if he was some kind of scientist?
Yes.
And that, because, being a scientist is the most important thing about being a scientist is to basically deconstruct your biases.
Yes.
And to get pure, raw data that you can look through, just as analytical as possible, no human input, minimum, want to mitigate that as much as possible, depending on the field, I guess.
Yeah, I think he would have been a better scientist, which I think it's why I feel like I relate to him, because I feel like he would be someone in that field, in a scientific thinking kind of mind. And those people, you have to think about every scenario. You have to think about all your controls.
Which would have been great, wouldn't it? If he was a scientist, because he would have then, him being hung up on one fact, we broke up these other pieces of evidence. We have this one piece of evidence that you just can't let go.
That's his weakness.
Like, that's his weakness.
weakness.
But you're a scientist, you just have this. It would have been perfect, because I'm not gonna lie, when I think of broker, I think of Jordan Belfort.
I don't know who that is.
Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh.
You know what I mean? I'm thinking wild men, I'm thinking people who are going to do anything to make some money, to have some fun.
Yeah, I guess I didn't even think of him as a stockbroker. I just thought of him as the smart dude, the like school smart guy, I guess.
Yeah.
The logic guy of the group.
Yeah. When I think broker, I don't think logic.
Yeah, I don't either. I didn't think about him. I didn't think about his profession, honestly. Yeah. I just thought about his personality. Yeah.
His personality didn't fit what a modern broker seems to be like. Yeah.
Were the brokers back then the scientists?
Or were they the serious ones? I don't know. I don't know. Were scientists? Wait, what was the scientist personality back then? I mean, Albert Einstein, we know his look.
Look at him.
Was the scientist look a wild look? You got to look.
They were probably thought of as crazy.
A lot of them probably were, yeah.
They're like, this guy, no.
And the guys who dealt with money were the sophisticated
guys. Yeah.
Because I didn't. If they were trying to go for sophistication, I wasn't getting that out of the stockbroker, the broker. I was getting more academic, and I wouldn't say sophisticated academics are the same. Sophisticated comes with some kind of, I mean, maybe you see it in him, but it comes with some kind of snootiness. I didn't feel like he was very snooty. I just felt like he was kind of stoic. What about you?
I guess I saw a little bit of snootiness when the old man was trying to get his point across. And then, he's like, do you wear glasses to bed? He's like, no, I don't wear glasses to bed. Like, come on, get on with it. But that's just me.
Yeah.
You don't want to be rude to the old man.
Yeah, but he was also being targeted at that moment, too.
That's also true.
And then we see the sweat, which is...
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure is legendary. I don't
hilarious.
know. That's probably endlessly fucking talked about. But we see this... I guess it's great that he's bald, or mostly bald. And we see this one little sweat bead of sweat starting to come down on his head. And he's like, and early in the movie, he's like, I don't sweat. That's me. I don't sweat.
Yeah, that's you.
In those moments,
you don't sweat.
That's good stuff. It's good stuff.
And then, I mean, not to mention the, biggest learning from your weakness moment with dude number 3.
I like his arc. He's kind of the major antagonist here. Because he's the representation of the lynch mob leader, off with their heads. Let's kill the witches, they're up to no good. They're conspiring. We need to get them, we're not going to investigate. We're not going to spend the time with them at all. They're just, you'd almost expect him to be the racist one. But I guess it just goes to show you how hollow racists' ideologies are. You know, they crumble at their own fucking voice.
Yeah. They didn't even take long. It took a 1-minute speech.
Yeah. Which might be the coolest part of the movie when he does that. And then it's just great that he's like, what did I say? Did I say something?
Yeah.
If he didn't say that, it wouldn't have been as good, but that definitely... It's good stuff. It's good stuff. I will say as far as performances go, the only thing I didn't like about this movie that was just like, ooh, that should have been done a little better. We need a new take of that. Maybe you guys ran out of film. But it's when dude number 3 started to like break down and cry.
Oh,
I didn't like that. I thought he, some people just, maybe he actually cried and had his cry face on and stuff. But some people just have bad cry faces.
Yeah.
Some people don't look like they're crying. Some people have super ugly cry faces.
That's true.
And you never know. So it's kind of a hard thing to judge. But I feel like it wasn't
like genuine.
It wasn't dramatic, enough for me. I wish it was just a little more. I would have taken a little more melodrama and just a little more, like, choking or something before he put his head down.
Okay.
Yeah,
that happened all a little too fast for me to.
Yeah.
Maybe pay that much attention to, but yeah, I could see a little bit of maybe like just even mid-sentence stopping because you have that lump in your throat. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the only awkward performance part I thought that stuck out to me. I was saying that before I forget, the main guy, Henry Fonda, I don't know what it was about him, if he's got like blue eyes or something, but his eyelashes, but like his look when he's looking at people is just so good. Like when he would be like, but why not? And then it'd be close up on his face, and I can feel like he had bigger eyelashes than anyone else.
Maybe.
And I was just like, he's like looking at these people like, and it's so good. And I guess I have to say, the fucking editing and like angles of where eyes met each other and stuff were fucking insane. I cannot imagine. And then some of the placement towards the end, right before the racist, the daddy issue guy, and the broker, right before they flipped. I guess it was right after the racist went into the corner. We get that shot of the racist, the daddy issue guy, and the broker all on a line with each other. And then, it's just a great shot because they are the last guys to be convinced. We get the vote, and then we see the racist. He's like, not guilty. And then we just see across the table with the broker and the daddy issue guy. I guess he's more of the son issue guy, the child issue guy.
I'm sure there's daddy issues there too.
Oh, he's definitely got daddy issues. It's just good stuff. And then we see a bunch of like 2-person, 3-person shots with them looking across from each other and over the table and everything. It's just awesome. Getting that eyesight, that line of sight, sight of line. What the fuck is the word? Is it line of sight?
Line of sight.
Line of sight, right?
That makes sense.
That's tough stuff. I don't know if you notice it that often. I think
I only notice it when it's super stretched or super awkward.
Yeah, sometimes it's really bad. You know who does it the worst? You know who does everything the worst, actually? It's Bohemian Rhapsody, that movie.
I've never seen that movie.
The Rise of Queen. It's only hard if you make it hard on yourself. This is a very hard example because they're all sitting around the table. They're sitting, they're standing up and down, moving around the table and everything. You have to get that line of sight. Positioning is so important in this. There's not another movie. You're never going to see another movie. Neither of us probably will see a movie with this many people in a room for this long, moving this much. So your line of sight is essential, right?
Yeah.
And they not only got crazy line of sight shots, but they got them in like, they got these crazy like compositions of people. This, like my favorite one was, I think it was the broker, the guy who grew up in the slums, and the baseball guy. It was a shot of them three looking, I think, at the daddy issue guy. It was just them looking at him, and he was just talking. And it was just a great shot of everyone, of all three of them. Boom, 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 like kind of staggered because they're sitting, down the table. It was awesome stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if I paid a lot of attention to that, but it wasn't weird or awkward. I can tell you that.
Yeah, that's good. It's one of those. I think it's. I'm only looking because
I felt like I was sitting there, honestly.
That's good. That's good.
Like across the room, waiting to see what the fuck he had to say.
I don't want to say I noticed this, but I did read that the first third of the movie started out with the camera looking down on everybody, and then the second third was eye level with everybody, and then the last third was looking up at everybody to give some sense of, mood, to set some kind of mood in hopes of having some kind of, because I guess the rule of thought is on camera looking down and up is you're kind of looking down on your characters, you're dominating them, right? You know more about the situation than them, and then looking up is they're dominating you.
Yeah.
And then eye level is you're being there, you're with them. Yeah, you're with them, you're sitting at the table with them.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna say I noticed that, but I'm not gonna say I even felt it properly. But it's one of those things though that if you notice it, you probably just love the movie more. But if you don't notice it, and then you look back on, if you rewatch it and think about it, and you're like, holy shit, is this one of the reasons I feel this way? Holy shit, this makes you love it even more. But it's kind of, that's crazy shit. That's crazy shit. I didn't notice it. I will say. Not that good.
I didn't notice it to that degree, but I do want to say I noticed in the beginning, but I thought I was just supposed to feel like I'm standing up with them. I'm also like around the room with them, higher. And then when everyone sat down and I'm still up, honestly, I thought I was supposed to be the guy that was, dude number one. I thought I was supposed to be him because he was the jury foreman, I guess, the ref, so to speak.
Yeah,
but then we kind of went into our main dude, and then once you saw him look like that, you're like, okay, that's our main guy. Yeah. And then he gave the not guilty verdict, and so I don't know. I guess that's what I thought I was supposed to feel. And then at the end, everyone was leaving, so I don't know how far back in the end, but I no longer felt like I was sitting.
Yeah.
So I guess I noticed it in that sense, but
yeah,
didn't think too much of it.
Yeah. Or however you felt is the valid way. However you thought about that. I like that you kind of pulled something different out of that though.
But back to our number 3 dude, our daddy issue dude. I liked how stubborn he was. I don't know if I've seen a character that's stubborn for that long throughout a movie. But I like that. And then I like that was his weakness, that he had to face. Quit being so fucking stubborn. Even when you asked him, like, well, convince us. Tell us why. Well, because.
Yeah.
Because I said so. Because you're thinking the other way. So I have to be stubborn about it. I have to say the opposite of what you're saying. It's like you're getting so mad. You're not even listening to reason.
Yeah, and stop projecting your problems onto this kid's problems.
Yeah. And I think my favorite scene was when they had that confrontation, our main guy versus daddy issues guy. And I don't know what initiated that confrontation, but then our main guy called him a sadist. And then he's like, and he got so mad and wanted to beat him up. And then
he's like, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah. And then he said, I'm going to kill you.
Oh, are you?
That was awesome.
Yeah.
That was awesome. It's like, you just said you want to kill me. You gonna kill me, bitch? That was awesome. That was great.
And then you get that little slick exchange when the broker and the daddy issue guy are at the water, and he's like, man, that guy just gets me he gets me going, I get so excited when he is saying the shit he's saying, and the broker's like, yeah, he fucking got you going, didn't he? It's fucking embarrassing, man. We're on a team together, technically, in a way, You need to fucking chill, my dude. Yeah, he shared a lot in common with, I guess, I want to say the daddy issue guy kind of shared a lot in common with the racist guy in that way, where he would just have these little outbursts that were just completely hysterical and not really founded in anything. And I think, I don't know if you know about the McCarthy stuff in the 50s, but I think that's probably one reason this movie was made, was to demonstrate mass hysteria and just not thinking about what's presented fully, you know? I think this movie does itself some justice by not involving anything to do with any kind of ideologies, because it makes it timeless. So that's just really a nothing point, I think. But
that's interesting. You say that it makes it timeless when some of these traits from some of these characters, just kind of seem to have gotten worse.
That's sort of true. Timeless in the wrong way.
Yeah,
I guess not timeless in the wrong way.
Or racism, classism, whatever you want to call it here, has gotten so much worse. And then stubbornness in people.
Stubbornness, without a doubt, has gotten worse.
Has gotten way worse. And I mean, even, our people who are going to people please or are going to take whatever side is needed to, get the money, to get the fame, the whatever. Like, I guess we learned absolutely nothing in the past 70 years. I don't know. Can't do quick math like that.
Yeah, it'll be 70 years and 4 more years.
Oh, shit. 57. Okay. So maybe you can explain this to me, which I don't know if I fully understand the reason for all the sweating. Why was everyone sweating? I mean, I understand it was supposed to be like the hottest day of the year, which, okay, did it just happen to be the hottest day of the year when they were filming and it's back then? Like, I don't know. Or did they just do that for that one guy that didn't sweat so we could have a dramatic one sweat running down his face? Like, I don't know. Do you think there was more to it?
Yeah, there's an age-old kind of point people like to bring up, and studies have been made. There was a famous study, I think, in the 80s demonstrating that crime and violence is increased when you have abnormally hot days, when it's, on abnormal times.
Yeah.
The most famous movie that does this is Do the Right Thing.
Yeah.
Which is a great movie. And we see that echoed here. I guess this is an earlier echo in the cave of echoes. And it works on multiple levels. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is good storytelling, good filmmaking, when you have a detail like that can work on at least 2 or more levels. And we see it happen here on at least 2 levels. Like you just said, with the kind of hysteria, or I guess like we just said about the hysteria and outlashing and violence. Not verbal violence, I should say. Not violence. And then also, in a great character way, the guy sweating. Right?
I mean, it was making me uncomfortable how sweaty everyone was.
Yeah, and it helps. You saying that made me think of a third right away, that the claustrophobia. I said that really... Did I say that really Italian? I feel like I did.
I feel like you almost said it with a lisp. Claustrophobia. Go ahead. Go on.
Sylvester Stallone.
He has a lisp.
I think
I don't know if I've ever seen him in a movie. I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you have or not. I get him mixed up with Al Pacino. I'm just saying. Cappuccinos. The claustrophobia and the heat, great pairing to have in this, in this heated, pun intended, kind of argument. I bet you could think for another 2 minutes and find another one. He's in a lot of B tier shit, to be honest. His most famous movie is probably Rocky. He's Rocky.
Yeah, I know that.
That's really all you need to know. He's in The Expandables.
I'm not even gonna attempt to say that.
You like that answer with the heat?
Yeah, that's good. That's a good answer. And it makes sense. Yeah, I guess, I mean, we have that too. It's hot here. When it gets hot, it gets fucking hot and people get irritated.
It's hot here down in the south.
Down in the south. Especially, August? Is August our hottest month?
Yeah, July, August.
Yeah.
They're both shit.
So we're experiencing it now. And people get flustered. People get frustrated.
Dogs die in the heat.
That's true.
Down here in the south.
Down here in the south.
Give me your best southern Mississippi impression.
I don't know if I get on the spot. Shit, I don't know. I just want to go like full hillbilly.
Oh, you want to go that kind of south?
I'm like, okay, no. Down here in the okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking 6th generation, 7th generation old black man living in his cabin. That's what you're thinking.
That's what you're channeling?
Yeah, that's what I'm channeling.
Okay.
Not the off the grid cannibal motherfuckers.
Yeah, I'm thinking like overalls and straw in their mouth.
Yeah, shotgun, the double barrel shotgun with the straw hat too.
Yeah.
They'll eat your ass.
I should channel like a Southern Belle kind of.
Yeah, you could do that.
Yeah.
Something like in Georgia kind of.
Yeah. And tell everybody bless their heart.
So this movie suffers from something greatly, I think. I brought it up in the beginning that there's something about this movie that stands out to me like a sore thumb. Is that the saying?
Yeah.
That's a weird saying, now that I just said that. I'm going to say it stands out to me like a pair of black eyes. Did I say black guys or black eyes?
Which one? Jesus. Like
funny.
A pair of
black eyes.
Eyes.
Like someone's got black eyes.
Black guys.
That's my country coming out.
Okay.
It's the score. The score in this movie sucks. The score is a major product of the 1950s and before, and a little bit after, for sure. It's so unremarkable for such a remarkably performed and shot film that it compromises the film.
You think it compromises the film?
I think it hurts the film severely.
Wow.
We need I'm actually a little surprised. I didn't see it, but I'm a little surprised I'm surprised there's not a recolorization of this film, because this is such an iconic film. I don't know if that's a common thing to do either. Is there a recolorization or a colorized version of Citizen Kane? I'm not sure, but I know that's it's like in one of these films. I'm not sure if they do that kind of shit. They did that with Wizard of Oz. Wizard of Oz is like 20 years older than this.
I thought they did that with everything, honestly.
Yeah, it's a lot of work because
I remember seeing like commercials maybe when I was younger about, is it Shirley Temple?
Yeah,
and
Shirley
then they'd
Temple's
be like, now in color, Yeah, they
did. I remember those. Yeah.
So I was like, oh, they're making everything now in color. Cool.
Yeah, there's also World War II in color.
Ah, okay.
They colorized all the footage and shit that they had. It's super neat, and it's it's cool. The coloring technique is cool.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with you there about the score completely. The score was just, I wrote down in my notes just score equals old, and then a question mark, because it just made me feel like, okay, it was old. It was old sounding, it was placed where older movies would place music at, and sounds or whatever, and it just didn't stand out in any way. But I don't think it compromised the movie. I just think it was, you're able to ignore it, really.
Yeah, I was not able to ignore it, because I guess, and it's mostly unfair to really say, because obviously the technology to score films like today was just not there, obviously, right? I'm not sure about this film, but a lot of films you didn't record any audio on set. Anyway, like at all. You just didn't have the resources and technology to, mostly I guess resources to do that. We didn't have incognito mics and stuff to get audio, and so all that was done post-production.
Yeah, which is crazy to me. I haven't thought much of filmmaking throughout, my years, but never have I ever thought that they didn't record, that it was really, really, really common to not record sound or I guess dialogue, whatever, while they were actually fucking talking. It just seems like a waste of time, but
it makes it pretty impressive to kind of match up the lip sync, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which when you realize that, it almost makes a lot of voice acting a lot worse, because voice acting, there's a lot of bad voice acting out there, like for animated stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And when you realize that there's better voice actors who do live action stuff that have to re-record everything just because of, what they're doing and everything, because they're outside a lot. You can't record audio if you're walking around in the fucking field when it's windy, right?
True.
You got to redo that.
Yeah.
Yeah, this kind of stuff just makes bad audio worse. Bad voice acting worse. And I don't know exactly why that is, but it does it just, like, I brought it up before in a different episode. The film The Bad Guys, I think is what it's called. It's like a
Bad Guys, yeah.
I think it was a DreamWorks animated film last year.
Yeah, with the wolf and
like a snake and
yeah.
It was so bad. The voice acting was so bad. It was so fucking bad. I could not get over it.
I wonder if you brought that up in our Mario podcast.
Yeah,
maybe.
We
talked about
it might have been
Princess Peach.
Because we all need to bow down and fucking apologize to Chris Pratt for thinking he was going to do a terrible job. He did a fine job. He was okay. He's much better than most voice actors, and he's not a voice actor.
Yeah.
So people, need to get off his fucking dick about that.
What's funny, you say he's not a voice actor when technically...
Yeah, I guess he is now.
Are they all voice actors if they're going back and re-recording?
Depending on... I mean, it's a good point. It's a good point. It's kind of like trying to say, is a heavily CG film an animated film? Sort of. Like, so these are, a lot of these guys do pickups. That's what they call them. I think it's what they call them. Yeah.
Okay. What are they picking up? Food?
You know what pickups is? Pickups are when you need to get more lines out of people that they didn't record before. They call these... What do they call it? I can't remember. There's a different word for it, actually.
Okay.
That's going to bother me. I'll find it later. I'll bring it up in different podcasts.
So, I know you brought this up a lot earlier in the podcast, or in the episode, about the our boy, our accused, our Puerto Rican little boy. We get one tiny shot of him in the beginning where he looks, so sad and miserable, and kind of has
real close up.
Yeah, real close up, like puppy dog eyes. How did you feel about this scene? And do you think that this would have been a stronger or weaker movie if they didn't have this? Or do you think he was kind of necessary for us to kind of feel bad for him?
I think it was necessary for them to show us, because it helps set the stage of this is a human being. To feel bad, no, I'm not feeling bad. I'm not feeling bad about the situation. I'm feeling bad about his dad, because a life was lost.
Yeah.
I feel bad for all life lost, human life at least. I don't care too much about the chickens. I'm gonna eat them motherfuckers up.
No,
I'm sorry.
Come on, we gotta care about the chickens. Can you replace that with insects? Mosquitoes. Replace that with mosquitoes, please.
If I could exterminate the mosquitoes, I would do everything I can in my power to help do that.
That's fine.
I fucking hate mosquitoes.
Okay, I take it.
But I like eating chicken.
I mean, I do too.
Especially their little wings.
Oh no, okay, alright, back to the scene with the boy.
I think it was totally essential we saw him because it helps set the stage to, get into one of the major themes of this movie is how do we deal with what are the consequences of someone who've done something, and like especially with in a situation where it's okay for not okay necessarily, but it's part of the procedure that this person could lose their life in return for what they did. And we, as the audience, need to at some point be reminded that this is a human life, and that is done a couple times through our main character and I think the old guy.
Yes.
But it helps give us a face. So there is some sense of, it does kind of, it does force, it does manipulate you just a hair. And at the very split, for a split second, maybe this is the negotiation that had to happen in the beginning, though, because we did need a face. We needed the stage of life that is beyond fucking trial, right? But we couldn't see it long enough to be manipulated, because if we saw him multiple times, if we saw his life and stuff, that would have been some manipulative shit that could happen in a different movie, but it can't happen here. We're jurors. We're participating with jurors. We don't know this kid's life. We shouldn't see anything about what happened in the past. That's why if we saw any of the evidence play out, I'm trying to think of a movie that's like, or something like where flashbacks play. I can't think of any off the top of my head.
Like in a court case, like Emily Rose.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Perfect example. Like we didn't see anything play out like we saw in Emily Rose, right?
Yeah.
Because we were in Emily Rose, we were heavily focusing on the priest. So that was the only way for them to really get his perspective across to us, was through through what we saw, we saw what he saw, right? Or so what he thought he saw,
Yes. And
that's an important part of the whole situation, right? And it can hurt a film, it can help a film. It's case by case basis, but it would have severely killed this film if we saw any of that. I think this movie wouldn't have been remembered for nothing if we saw 1 ounce of that shit, because this movie knows its place. It knows the role of its characters, and it puts us there, and it keeps us there. And in fact, it goes so hard on that fact that we don't even see the verdict, like the true verdict. We don't see what happens to the kids afterward. I think I said kids. We don't see what happens to the kid afterwards. We don't see what actually happened. And in modern movie, you could very easily see, the audience gets a little bit on, they get to go on the inside a little bit, and we get to see what happens, and they're like, oh shit, the jurors were all wrong,
Yeah.
He did kill him in cold blood, but we didn't, because that's not the point of the movie. I don't know if we've seen a movie with so much vision and direction and intention.
Yeah. I think that was very well said, especially the end there, that we didn't see any of the aftermath of their decision or their verdict, which is what made me think of this question, because at first I thought, I don't think that was necessary. I don't think we needed to see the kid, and it brought the question of why did we, and I kind of approached it from a feel sorry for him kind of point of view.
And I'm sure the director would hate to hear that.
Just because he looked so sad.
He did look so sad.
Like,
but he couldn't not look sad either.
Not look sad.
Yeah.
If he was laughing or grinning, oh my God, you monster.
Exactly.
Or, maybe if we would have seen like a silhouette, I wouldn't have felt this.
But it would have felt too
sadness.
objective, it would have felt too calculated.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have felt like this is not an experiment. This is not, your math homework. This is not the fucking stock market, just watching this kind of, just we're not interpreting any kind of data.
Yeah.
We're dealing with a human
being.
life.
Yeah.
And we were told at the very beginning, if this person is guilty, they're definitely, being put to death.
Get the chair. Yep.
And
Get in
so
the
it's
chair.
not, yeah, someone else said that too
Yeah.
in the movie. Yeah. I guess in the 50s I would expect as much too.
Yeah, I really like what you had to say. I appreciate that viewpoint because I was thinking about it. I was questioning that decision there to put him in the film.
I think it also helps that we see him so close too, because it's fast. We see him close. We don't even get a sense of how big he is, who he is, what is he, nothing. His clothes
so
and
quick.
nothing. It's so quick. We just see flesh. He's a boy, vaguely ethnic. That's it. He's got teary eyes. He's shooken up. That's it. It's quick. I don't know. Maybe 5 seconds. It's
super quick. You don't even get to look at any of his features for that long. I like that.
Yeah, and I'm sure that was probably, if I had to guess, that was probably one of the most difficult things the director had to negotiate with, telling this story.
Mm-hmm.
Was because he tried his hardest, as everyone who worked on this film did, to not. It was kind of a theme of the movie to not manipulate,
to not judge a book,
and us seeing anything not from the jurors' point of view would have killed it, would have just killed it. And so, and the director obviously knew that.
Yeah.
Sidney,
Lumet.
He knew that, and I'm sure that kept him up at night. That 5 fucking seconds kept him up, and I guarantee you, I could smell it. It's just so obvious to me. Because I guess the other half of that little bit that happens right there, that little scene, is I think right before we see the kid's face, the jurors are like walking away, and they're like, a few of them are looking back at him, and
yeah,
it's almost like they don't, I don't know, it's like it's somewhere in between. They don't want to look at him, and it's real casual. There's something, I don't know what that is, and it works for me. And I guess also we got to bring up the judge's attitude when he's telling him, he's fucking bored. He's it's kind of weird. It's kind of a weird attitude the judge has got, and it's so dramatically different from anyone else in the movie, so it kind of stands out to me. And it's real quick, it's 20 seconds, 25 seconds, half a minute maybe.
Yeah.
And he said, he tells the jurors what they're gonna do and what happens if he's guilty, yada yada yada. And he's like leaning over his desk, his hands on his cheek, and it's almost like, I'm not sure. Is it almost like the judge thinks this is,
this is cut and dry?
Is it cut and dry?
Closed. This case closed. Go vote. Come back out. Let me know. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, which gives our guy way more power.
Yeah. I guess the last thing I want to say about this film and the score is, after it's almost I guess that's where I was going earlier, is it's maybe not fair to judge it compared to modern movies because of just the sound, able to record sound, and just the artistry that's come with it, or that's developed with cinema over the last 100 years. It's after films like The Whale and Banshees, the Banshees of Inisherin, or whatever the fuck it's called.
Inisherin, yeah.
And RRR. I mean, just so many great scores out there now. So many that are complemented by a great movie. I guess it's really the other way around. The score needs to complement the core movie. And in the last 12 months, scores have just stuck out to me more and more. I'm not sure why. but it's so fucking old. It just
Yeah, I mean,
it's
maybe
so we maybe what?
maybe you'll need to see other movies from 1957 or around the time to get a grasp on.
Yeah.
Did he even have the capabilities to do something better?
Yeah. Probably not, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
And so it's not really fair. It's hard to say anything in fairness. It really is, but it's just kind of it just kind of sucks that is what doesn't hold up because it couldn't, I think.
Yeah.
And I hate that for everyone involved. And I wonder what Sidney Lumet would say today about that.
Well, he died in 2011, so
He probably said something about it. Shit.
dang, he was 86. Jesus Christ.
Old dude.
Yeah, my final thoughts on this movie is that if you are going to endure a black and white movie, this is a good one. This is a good one to sit through.
Yeah.
And it's such, and I love it, it's such a inspirational or kind of
It's got this movie's almost a like movie representation of a role model of how one should fucking operate in society.
yeah, and I guess I'm trying to say that it's such an inspirational movie that it's referenced in a lot of places. And
influential.
Yes.
Yeah.
What did I say?
Inspirational.
Influential.
Both.
That's the word I was fucking looking for. Yes, influential. And in doing my research for this film, I came across I guess it was an article, I don't know what it was, but they were kind of talking about other movies and TV and whatnot that have replicated some either elements or the whole like plot of the movie. And the one that came up was hilarious because I've seen this and it's probably one of my favorite shows of all time, Hey Arnold. And when I saw it too, I remember the episode so vividly. And it's just like the movie. It's Eugene, the guy who's always getting hurt.
Yeah.
And he's on trial for pulling the alarm clock. Not the alarm clock, the
fire alarm.
Fire alarm. And it's like all sticky with like I think like peanut butter or something. He was eating something. And you got Arnold, of course, as your main guy who's like, wait a minute, is he guilty? I don't, let's look at all the evidence here, kind of level-headed. And I think Helga was, our antagonist. She was the stubborn one. She was like, no, off with his head. And Phoebe, who was kind of like the smarter one, was kind of like the analytical dude or the stockbroker dude. And, all these like small little characters were playing. And it was like one episode just how the movie was. But I think in the episode Eugene did pull the fire alarm, and then we have this like kind of evil telling of his story of why he did it, and he was like explaining himself. I don't know, but I like that it's so influential, and I can't wait to notice it more in other movies and TV, like we did with The Walking Dead a few days ago. Not a few days ago, probably a few months ago.
Yeah, a few months ago. Yeah, it's referenced literally by recreation and
symbolic
and symbolically and metaphorically, of course, and
yeah,
but also I would imagine through character
and
how you write characters and how you just write a film and how you write a plot in films. I would imagine in every single how to write a cinema book, this is a heavily referenced, brought up movie in that book, because I mean, just watch the fucking movie, man.
Yeah, rightfully so. Well, thank you for watching this movie. Thank you for letting me pick something for once.
You're welcome. Didn't you pick the last one?
Oh, yeah, I did. The last one, Netflix kind of picked it for us.
Sort of, yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, well, yeah, thank you for watching this with me. I believe this is a Criterion Collection film, so we're going to eventually do every single Criterion Collection film movie. There's over 1,000 of them, so stay tuned for the next one.
Great. Stay tuned for at least 1,000 more episodes.
Oh, and a lot of those are old movies.
Oh.
I don't know if they filter it quite in such a way where you can see exactly how many old movies there are. Like, you know, if you could filter between like 1920 and 1960 or 1970 to see exactly how many old movies are in there. But I bet you half of the movies are from the 40s and 50s and 60s. I have to guess.
What's an old movie? You know?
An old movie is pre-2010.
Wow.
At this point.
I don't agree with that, but you know what? You guys should leave
a comment
and tell us what you think an old movie is, and then maybe put your age next to it so I know
what's
why
an old
you're
movie to
thinking
you. Pre-90s?
An old movie to me?
Yeah.
I think pre-90s. Yep. Just if it's too slow and putting me to sleep, old movie.
But yeah, it could just be a sign of a bad movie.
Oh, I mean, yes, true. You gotta kind of, pick it apart there for a bit, but
yeah. Well, how much do you think this movie cost to make at the time? Not.
Oh yeah, I think my guess for the budget is 650,000 for the time. At that time.
It's a good guess.
It is a good guess?
That's a good guess.
What is it?
It's 337,000. It's pretty good.
Okay.
Pretty good guess.
Yeah. Okay. See, my logic there was I would give it 2 million now, today. Kinda. It's a little,
No, 2 million's about right. Think about The Whale.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Because you have to remember, actors didn't get paid like they do today. Actors.
But you said that doesn't count into the budget.
Oh, I mean that's fair. That's true.
So I didn't think about that.
That's fair. Yeah. Good point.
So I mainly, I guess I thought about.
I guess everyone didn't get paid as much as they do now because the unions.
I don't know. I just felt like 2 million. Anywhere from 1 to 2 million was.
Yeah.
Good for about its time.
Yeah.
But then God knows what that translates into in the 1950s.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay.
Basically knock off a zero.
Yep.
Yeah. At that time.
Yep. And then, you know what? It was like more than 500, but less than 1 million.
Yeah, movies didn't start becoming super expensive until... Well, they started to inflate, and I guess they kind of had there was a little bit of a trend there, and then they really started inflating in the 70s, and then in the 80s, and then in the 90s, and this gets bigger and bigger and bigger. But there was a period between the 1920s and 1940s where movies were not moving much.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Do we know how much? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, what were you gonna say?
How much it made? But you can finish your thought.
Oh, I was just gonna say that actors didn't get paid as much either. They people made careers out of being actors. They didn't, they didn't get paid $10 million on one project, and it doesn't matter what world you're in, $10 million, you've got generational money. You're pretty much good to go.
Yup.
And that's not uncommon for big actors these days for some reason. But it made
how much did this movie make?
This movie, according to the Wikipedia, made $2 million.
In its time?
It's probably a little hard to say.
Okay.
Because this movie...
Did it go to theaters? Were there?
Yeah, it only went. There were only theaters for a long time. people didn't start buying movies until the late 60s and 70s. And then you were only buying them if you were making big money. And then...
Did they only play stuff at drive-ins? Were drive-ins? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, were drive-ins what?
When were they invented?
The same time. Same time theaters were.
Hmm.
Their drive-ins heydays were probably 60s and 70s because that's when you had a lot of... Like, these drive-ins could get movies cheap, and they could just show them over and over and over again.
And you get a lot of people in there.
Yeah, and you get a lot of people in there. And you know, not very much cleanup and shit. You know, you just get their cars and... Yeah, that $2 million comes from over the times of, you know, the VHS, you know, at the time, of course, reshowings, drive-ins, right? This was definitely shown in many drive-ins, and then the VHS and different forms of home media and DVDs eventually. And
so you're saying it's had quite some time to
it's had some quite some time. So
Yeah.
I imagine that $2 million is not very one-to-one because of just the nature of inflation from the 50s to now. I think it'd probably be pretty hard to track for people who don't own the rights to it, you know? I imagine they only really people who have a solid number like that.
Okay, that's interesting.
If I had to that's my 2 cents on that. Yeah. Yeah, man. Well, thank you for watching this film with me. It was a great film. What do you give it on your letterbox?
Ooh, I have to think about that. I just instinctively want to say 4.5.
Damn.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm stuck between a 3.5 and a 4.
Whoa.
Because its old sensibilities do hurt it in some ways, but in the ways it's good, it's better than... I mean, it's as good as it gets. It's how to make a movie done right, and...
Yeah.
It's hard to not want to fault it for its score, but I just can't. I just maybe need to let that go a little bit. But I don't know. It's one of those things. Maybe I'm a little bit of a hypocrite trying to defend that because it's just one of these things. Do these things age well? You know.
I think this movie aged very well.
I think this movie ages well almost everywhere except the score. Kind of bit like and the how, but it's like brings up the question: how important is the score? Because in like Mario 64, what doesn't age well in Mario 64? Everything about it doesn't age well. So it really starts to just not be good at all. It is not fun to play. It's not interesting to play. It's ugly as shit. You know, it's you have to play on the N64 controller, which is shit.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of a funny negotiation that has to go on in my head. But I like it more now after talking about it.
Oh,
I do.
Good.
You made me think of some things that I didn't think about before, and it only helps elevate the film. The parallels and the dualistic kind of things that are happening here, and the deconstructions of thought and whatnot. It's good stuff, and it's hard to not just gush over the film, but there's just like this little thing that's just not good. Like it's so not good it hurts the film. But
yeah, I don't know what that thing is. I don't quite feel it as strong as you do, but there's just something there that doesn't make me want to give it a 5. But
yeah,
because it's a great film.
Yeah. Well, thank you for listening to this very fun episode of the Philistines. Did you have fun?
I had fun.
Good. It's good to hear. Can't do this without you.
That's right.
Take care, you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, guys.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Philistines. Thanks for tuning in and joining us on our cinematic journey. We hope you enjoyed our discussion and gained some new insights and perspectives on the world of movies. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform, especially Patreon at patreon.com/Philistines, and follow us on social media for more film-related content. We love hearing from our listeners, so if you have any feedback, suggestions, or movie recommendations, or book recommendations, please feel free to reach out to us. Until next time, keep watching and keep loving the magic of movies. This is the Philistines signing off.